I talk a lot on this channel about strong emotional characters and scenes that make you cry your eyes out. But sometimes you need an easygoing, fun adventure buddy comedy film to bring you out of the depths of tearful hell, to make you laugh and to make you really just sit down and have some fun. The Road to El Dorado does just that. A film that initially when being released did not do well and was bombed by critics, but since then has received quite a cult following of probably being one of DreamWorks' best films. So let's dive in. Hi there, it's me, the Average Critic, and it's time to talk about The Road to El Dorado, DreamWorks' most underrated film. First off, if you aren't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you never miss any of my videos, as it really is helping my channel grow, and I really appreciate every single subscriber that subscribes to my channel. You can also follow me on my social media, that gets more personal on there, so make sure you do that as well, and let's get to the video. So The Road to El Dorado came out in the year of 2000 and was DreamWorks' third feature animated film. At the time period, we were just coming out of the Disney Renaissance period, so standards were very high when it came to animated movies. So here is something I actually didn't know until preparing for this review, but The Road to El Dorado is based off of the Bob Hope and Bing Crosby Road to film series, in which Bob Hope and Bing Crosby played two harmless, if somewhat dim-witted pair of friends who would be thrusted into an adventure in a more exotic part of the world. If you watch these films and then The Road to El Dorado, it's impossible not to see the resemblance. But whereas the Road to films are very similar to film series like the Carry On films or any film with George Formby, for those younger audiences listening now, this is the time to go do a Google search and ask your parents about those topics. We give those films a free pass of being good because of the time period, and we crap on The Road to El Dorado because it came out in the 20th century. How is that fair? For the record, I'm not saying the Road to films are bad, in fact quite the opposite, but all of the problems the critics spoke of when this film came out, those older films have the exact same problems. Let's start with what this film does fantastically well, which is the cast and characters. Kevin Kline and Kenneth Branagh voice our two main characters and do a wonderful job of bouncing off one another. They even did most, if not all of their scenes together in the same booth to ensure they could bounce off one another, even going so far as to have a lot of freedom to improvise, in which some of the lines actually made it into the final film. Now, sure, Miguel and Tulio aren't the most groundbreaking characters. Much like the film series this film is based on, you have the plan maker who is cocky but realistic, and you have the dreamer who is overly emotional but has a big heart. It's only 2.5 minutes into the film and we are already introduced to our characters and they are already scheming. We have no backstory, no setup, no dreams or wants, which for an animated film is very odd. Most films, and particularly animated films, we have the motivations of the main characters, what they want in life of the story for the narrative to progress. The Road to El Dorado just thrusts you into our characters and into the story. Our characters don't really choose to do anything. They sail on the ship to escape going to prison, they escape the ship to escape their fate from Cortez, and even though they do choose to go in search for El Dorado, they do so only because it's their only option after being shipwrecked. We never get to fully understand our two main characters till halfway through the movie, but just like the films this movie is based on, what's the point? We don't need to know our characters. The point of the film isn't the characters necessarily, but the adventure itself. Miguel and Tulio are riding the adventure just like we are. Miguel and Tulio could be anyone. They are used as a reflection of ourselves. The everyday man. They aren't yearning for adventure or want to find true love. They just live. Every character is thrusted into the adventure. Even Altivo the horse shipwrecks with them accidentally. The only characters who even choose to do anything are the villains and Chell. The point is this, yes, the characters are very two-dimensional, but allows for an easygoing adventure and a lot more jokes. And boy, does this film throw jokes at you. From the get-go there is joke, after joke, after joke, after joke, and I love it. And with every early 2000 film that comes out at this time, we also have some unnecessary controversy. The first one being the sexualization of Chell, which really is silly. So let's get this out of the way. Yes, Chell is very, very, very curvy, shall we say. Okay, seriously, Chell is very similar to something like the original Lara Croft of the Tomb Raider games, in which the over-sexualized nature of her body and bringing much more attention to it. Chell's body is heightened, yes, but Chell uses her feminine wiles to her advantage to easily outsmart not just our dim-witted heroes, but everyone in the entire village. She sees through the hero's facade of being gods to make her the smartest character in the story. Even in today's world, we almost make it out like being attractive is a bad thing. Chell is a breath of fresh air, especially compared to other female characters in animated films, who are usually the typical damsel in distress, or purely used as a boring love interest. Chell brings life and energy of being the strong female presence who isn't afraid to use her gender to her advantage and outwit every guy she meets. Yes, Chell is very attractive, but she is also the smartest person in the room, and she knows that. Also, we have to talk about something I never thought I would even talk about on this channel, which is sex in this film. Sex as a whole is almost a theme throughout the whole film, and for an animated film, it's kind of refreshing. DreamWorks really weren't afraid to use sex casually. Even Tulio and Chell's relationship is heavily sexualized, with a certain scene obviously springing to mind. It gives the film a certain weight and maturity, as adults will notice certain things, but kids will see enough to understand it. Adding that sex is a part of life. Not every film needs a long-winded love story, and you can have strong, sexual, passionate characters. I really enjoyed this film's casual theme of sex throughout. I don't know if the writers actually had this intentional, but I kind of enjoyed its fresh take on what sex is, I suppose. The other controversy, of course, is the history of characters like Cortez and the culture of certain historical groups. To be fair, when watching this film, I can understand how certain cultures can be offended or irritated by specific scenes. But remember, this story is about a lost fictional city which mixes several cultures. The writers take from all mixes of history to create their own El Dorado utopia. For the record, I am not a historian, and if you want to know more on this topic, once again, I recommend watching Breadsword's video, which is The Road to El Dorado, A Match Made in Heaven. He really digs deep into the history of this film, and I absolutely love that video. But even in a modern day society, to say this film is just offensive to certain cultures, I think you're digging way too deep when you could just be enjoying a really easygoing adventure movie. That is my take on that topic. If you don't agree with that, of course, I absolutely understand, but that is my personal opinion. The film was, of course, highly praised for its score, and having Elton John, Tim Rice, John Powell, and Hans Zimmer, you can see why. The score is very similar to Tarzan, which only came out a year before, in which the songs aren't sung like a traditional musical, but rather sung to represent characters' emotional feelings. With the exception of It's Hard to Be a God, all songs are sung internally by Elton John to reflect the story or character, with Without Question finally being the I Want song for Miguel, and Friends Never Say Goodbye being the song to portray when our heroes are at their lowest point. The musical number It's Hard to Be a God can feel slightly out of place, but with talent like this behind the music, you kind of don't care, as the songs are amazing. It isn't as emotional as, say, The Lion King, which I use The Lion King as an example due to the composers being the same, but it offers a fun and light-hearted score to keep the story going and fits the style of storytelling incredibly well. There hasn't really been a film like The Road to El Dorado since, especially to this standard. Don't get me wrong, as a lover of Pixar, I do prefer the more emotional and thought-provoking films that other films have to offer, but The Road to El Dorado brings the life and fun that the film is based on. Sure, your characters aren't groundbreaking, and the story doesn't hold the test of time, but it has a fun and light-hearted narrative with jokes galore, and in my opinion, offers a new observation on sex and the sexualization of female characters. The Road to El Dorado may not be perfect, but it does a lot of things great. So after all that, it gets my professional rating of 7 out of 10. But it gets my personal rating of 9 out of 10. It's a shame this film wasn't a success when coming out, but definitely tried to do something different, and in my opinion, it succeeded to. So thank you for joining me in this video. Let me know in the comment sections what you thought of The Road to El Dorado, as I didn't realize how much I could talk about this movie. And if you enjoyed it, you can check out one of my other videos right here. And of course, please do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more videos on your favorite animated films. You can also follow me on my social media right here as well, so please make sure, give me a nice follow. I really do appreciate it. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.